I am Casser-Jayne, and welcome to the Casser-Jayne Show, where along with my partner in politics, former White House correspondent Matthew Cooper, we slice and dice all things politics, and some days Donald Trump, too. This week on the Casser-Jayne Show, can we ventilate as thousands of Americans die from the coronavirus, the pandemic that President of the United States, Donald Trump, only recently called a Democratic hoax because there are not enough ventilators to serve the needy, and our first responders, our nurses, are forced to wear trash bags, their only line of defense against the virus due to a shortage of protection gear because, gasp for air, paranoid Trump is too busy accusing the media of making up the extent of the virus in order to hurt the economy, in order to keep him from being re-elected president, rather than enacting the Defense Production Act, just one action that would ramp up production of much-needed ventilators to keep patients alive. And Republicans actually suggest that our senior citizens should sacrifice their lives for the sake of the American economy and Trump's re-election. Sigh. Where is that ventilator? And we're just beginning. Let's get started. We begin. Good morning, Matthew. I told you...
Hey, good morning.
I know, sweetie, and I told you that I'm a little verklempt. Don't you love that word? Isn't that a great word?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this is all getting to me in ways I never thought it would get to me. I'm just
well, it's exhausting. It's taxing. It's wearing. It's a mess.
It really is a mess. And you know, I was thinking when I woke up this morning, does it have to be the mess that it is? Or is this really a failure of leadership that has us all dangling like little monkeys from the top of the trees? You know, not getting it, not knowing what's coming next. I mean, we're unmoored. We're unmoored, and so I want to go.
Well, it's not.
What? Go say. Talk.
The leadership is not comforting. Let's put it that way.
And is that I'm trying to be really hard on myself, and I'm saying to myself, no, Hallie, you're not a Trump fan. And so, you tend not to be a Trump fan. But I need to ask myself, and I ask myself this a lot, is it true that it's because I'm not a Trump fan that I see it that way? Or is this guy really failing on big time? Because somewhere in there is an important answer. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I just think whether you're a Trump fan or not, he's not really offered a consistent or inspiring message. I mean, even if you like him and you like what he's done so far in his presidency, in just a few weeks, he's gone from saying this is a hoax to it's all going to be over soon. We only have 5 cases, to it's a big deal, take it seriously, to, hey, everybody back to work. It's not so bad. I mean, there's nothing in there. I think even if you kind of like him and you like his policies, I just don't know if there's a lot to get you through this thing.
I was talking to a friend yesterday. Melania Trump tweeted, everybody stay together, which is a better message at least than he's been doing. Yada yada yada. It was a short tweet. It was whatever. And I thought to myself, and maybe this is at the core of it all for me. In one of our darkest hours, First Lady then Eleanor Roosevelt went down into the mines, and Melania Trump tweeted. And let me also say this. And Putin even put on a suit, and he went to visit the hospitals. Trump hasn't left the White House in weeks. Talk to me.
Yeah, no, I just don't think he's offering the country a lot of leadership now. Now, at least he's going to sign some bills that'll help a little and do a few things. But, he got asked that question by Peter Alexander of NBC last week about, what do you say to people, who are scared, which is, a total softball and kind of question most politicians want, and they know how to answer. And, he threw a little fit. So, let's just say it's not Churchill.
I think I call that understatement. And something else, I think, excuse me, my cough is a lot better than it was, but it's not perfect. So guys, I'm here. I didn't die from coronavirus yet. But I want to say this also, because I think this is important. We also have something crazy going on in this country. A Texas lawmaker said seniors should be willing to die to save the economy. And a former ABC News White House correspondent, once considered the top of the world, Brit Hume, went along with it. Now, so did what's that little guy's name? The Republican shock jock from Texas originally, whatever his name is. So I don't know why it just escaped me. But
Glenn Beck?
Yeah, Glenn Beck. They're all out there, okay? They're all saying, yeah, let's, and how wacky, this is like Wackyville. This is Wackyville. This is death panel. This is sick stuff. This is what is coming out of one of the parties, of the two parties in the United States of America. It's frigging wacky, Matt. Does the illness affect the brain?
I don't, I don't get it.
I mean, seriously, this was like kind of, I won't say it was laughed off, but people should have been absolutely up in arms about this. This is like Soylent Green. You ever see that movie? Where when you got to be 30, a little light?
Yeah, that's very timely.
Okay. Like everybody, if you haven't seen the movie Soylent Green, we're living it. Go watch it. It's unbelievable. That is what is going on in the Republican Party. The party of so-called life is not the party of life. It's the party of kill the seniors. Listen to me. That to me was the low point of this country in my lifetime, as far as I'm concerned. It left me utterly speechless.
Yeah, it's not a good electoral strategy.
That too.
It's not a particularly good economic strategy.
I mean, right?
It's not really good for the GDP to have more deaths and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of foolishness. Now, look, at some point there probably will be a time when healthier people are encouraged to, it's kind of an all clear for the healthy to kind of get back in a little bit, but.
I don't get that. To get back in, what do you mean?
No, I just mean...
to go back to work?
Yeah, I mean, it won't be like there's one day when this is all over and everybody's okay. It'll probably be a little more gradual, right?
No, absolutely.
If you don't have
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, no, because that's
and you seem okay, and you've been isolated for weeks, then then it's okay to kind of go back to work. Well, anyway, it was a weird interlude, and
interlude.
I mean, it was just
no. The words that come, the words that come out of our mouths, Matt. And you think, gee willikers, right? Because it is also odd. There's just nothing sane about it. Let's go to this. Congress did finally pass a bill,
right?
That's supposed to what? It's not rescue the bill. I think it's a rescue bill.
Well, sure. It's a classic kind of, stimulus to put money in the hands of people to start spending because they don't have it now. And it's to, get some money into the economy. As big as it is, it dwarfs the Obama stimulus by about fourfold. It still is unlikely to really be enough.
Why did they do it so little?
Well, I think getting it to $2 trillion was tough enough. I think originally they were going to do $1. They got it to $2. I think they keep hoping, this will be enough. Plus the Federal Reserve doing all it's doing. They keep hoping that that's going to kind of be enough. And, I think they'll probably come back again for another round of stuff.
Well, this morning, 3.28 million, 3.28 million people are unemployed. I think they're going back for more. I mean, that's what I think.
Yes, submitted jobless claims. Actually, it's probably much higher.
Oh, I'm sure that it is. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just people that got laid off, but, gig workers, and self-employed.
Absolutely. I mean, it's devastating. So. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the most since the Great Depression. I think that that may be the most ever in this period of time. But I bring that up because I think that in the scheme of it, we don't even begin to realize just how devastating this whole thing is to the country, what have you. So, which brings us to, there's the illness, and you look at the illness, and then you have to look at the economics of all of this. I want to
Sure.
focus for a minute on the illness. While Trump is saying let's everybody go back to work by Easter and have a nice little Easter roll on the White House lawn, and which reminded me, by the way, of a scene in War and Remembrance, the great Herman Wouk's fabulous book, where the commandant and his 900 children are playing out back on Christmas, and the kids are asking what's the smell of that horrid smell as they're burning bodies. To me, that's kind of like what's going on in a lot of this. But Fauci gets up there, and we ought to talk about Anthony Fauci, and says, we don't know what's going on. We have no clue. This isn't going to go away in 2 weeks. Who the hell really knows what's going on across the country? This is what he said last night. And he said it for very good reason. There's no testing still. You cannot get a test in Palm Beach County, honey. You cannot get it. They said that you could go to Walmart and get it. You can't. No tests. Third largest county in the United States, in Florida. We'll talk about Florida in a minute, but the illness part of this is I don't think we really know what the hell is going on with the illness. And can I ask you this? Have you seen any body bags?
Well, you mean like in the street? No.
No. Have you seen anybody taking bags out, on the news? Have you seen any burial grounds? It's like the problem is Trump is keeping it all behind doors. That's why people don't.
If Trump is doing it. I mean, if someone dies in a hospital, they don't film it and going to a mortuary or crematorium. In past plagues or what have you, you've seen, even in the Civil War, you see pictures of bodies lined up. You see none of that now. You don't see anything. I was having a conversation with my neighbor about this, who was a Fox News watcher, who has a very ill wife who's almost 80. He's almost 80. And of course, he's, watching Fox News. And he said, of course.
There's nothing going on.
Demographic necessity.
Right. He says to me yesterday, there's nothing going on. This is all crazy. I haven't seen any dead bodies. I don't see anybody walking around, with a plague. All I hear is news people talking about this, but I have no proof. This isn't really happening. This is a Democratic scam. It's not happening because it's been so bleached, either by the media who isn't going in to see what's going on to take the right pictures. Pictures worth 1,000 words. This is an issue with why people in some places are not complying.
But I mean, 13, Times has a long story about a small hospital in Elmhurst, Queens, that 13 people died at yesterday.
Right. They're giving us numbers all over the place. But what I'm saying is, have you seen the pictures?
But I mean, I don't know what you expect. You expect that, like, the New York Times to go into the ICU and take pictures of dead people.
I think if they don't take pictures of dead people, at least get into the facilities, do some hard news. This is what's going on. Take pictures have sound of people coughing, have something that makes it real. It's just not real. It's talk. There are no backup pictures to freak people out. If you freak them out, they will respond. Instead, they have the President of the United States every day around 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock going on the news telling us how wonderful everything is, which is another conversation we should have. But do you see what I'm saying? I'm saying to you, this
No, I know what
is
you're saying.
I'm reading about them having turning ice rinks in Italy into morgues, but there are no pictures of the ice rinks into morgue. So,
well, you don't blame Trump for that, right?
Well, that's in Italy. I'm talking about what's going on over here.
No, I know. I'm being facetious.
Okay. Well, I'm losing my sense of humor about this. I do think it's an issue. I do think it's one of the problems that they have so whitewashed this that to some degree.
But I don't think there's a they whitewashing it. I mean, I think it's
I know Trump put out an edict that he didn't want any.
But if the same thing is happening in Italy, then it really maybe has nothing to do with Trump.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I will tell you that Trump did put out an edict that he did not want daily numbers on unemployment out. You do.
Yes, but well, that's I agree with that. But I mean, Israel is seeing a big surge. We're not seeing,
I don't know.
bags, as you say.
I'm saying that at some point we are seeing pictures of Putin in gear because they have it over there. What we don't have here.
Well, yes, you can get someone in gear, and I've seen pictures like that. I know what you mean, but it is a quarantine. It's a little hard to
Well, it's a quarantine.
Bring a crew in.
It's a quarantine, but it's not a quarantine. I mean, the press is still a free press, and if they want to push their way in and do what they need to do.
I think that's a little more cumbersome in a hospital quarantine ICU.
I don't know, but I think it's fair to bring it up that the pictures do not abound.
Yeah.
And I think that makes for whatever. But Anthony Fauci, who has long been the voice in these pandemics and these terrible diseases, and he's really quite a unique fellow, I think, because he can stand there with Trump, who says the most idiotic things, and he just goes around Trump and says what he needs to say to counter whatever it is that Trump is saying, is now taken to going on independent of those speaking crazy, what I think are really big campaign speeches. It's his new rally every day, which I think the press shouldn't be covering wholeheartedly. And Fauci, is being very clear to us. Hey, we don't really know what's going on. We do think that there's going to be another wave, a third wave. We do think this is going to come back. This is not a open and shut. It'll be all right on the 15th of any month. So I think the people like he are trying. The rest of them are, as we spoke last week, bobbleheads. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, doesn't it irritate you at all?
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, I think, of course it irritates me. Look, I mean, it seems, that we should be following the science on this, and we should have a government that is prepared for this, and there should be testing like other Western countries, and we're slow on all of this, and this whole problem with getting enough ventilators in the right place. It's very frustrating.
So let me throw this out there. This doesn't spare anybody, including your blue blood doesn't help you. Even Prince Charles was symptomatic and tested positive, which is bizarre that they allowed him. or, God bless him. I guess he was still going around doing what he felt he needed to do, and he got caught. But he had the courage to go out and do what he needed to do and be the statesman that he needs to be, as the future king of England. But it's amazing to me that something like that can happen, that Putin can go out and that Trump doesn't leave the White House.
Well, I agree. I mean, I think actually, in a way, the rich might be more vulnerable. The biggest cluster of cases in Colorado is in Aspen and Vail.
Well, for the same reason that we are. Right. Well, it's the same reason Florida is.
Sun Valley.
Yeah. Florida has the same problem because we've got people coming in and going out and coming in and going out.
Yeah. I mean, I think we may find it hits the rich a little more.
And Louisiana.
Hard. Yeah, I mean, that's, there's a lot of factors here.
Yeah.
I mean, Louisiana seems to be because of Mardi Gras.
Well, there you go. And so how about the governor allowing the beaches to stay open and these kids to come down and have their little play? And now all of them are being traced and most of them have it and have gone home to their little communities and are spreading it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm holding my tongue.
Interesting how that one kid apologized.
Oh, I didn't see that. A kid apologized?
Well, there was a kid who was filmed by a CBS News crew a few days ago with a very cavalier attitude about getting sick. This was down Miami Beach, and he was like, what's the big deal? If I get corona, I get corona. I'm going to party. I'm here to have a good time. And, he and other young folk like that in the piece were much ridiculed. Anyway, the kid issued a statement on Instagram saying how sorry he was. He wasn't taking this seriously enough. And, sort of just doing that. So, it was a big deal.
Well, that's a good thing.
I think in a good moment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see the kids who were licking the toilet bowl? And then they got it.
I missed that one.
Yeah, and then youth is youth. I mean, you're immortal when you're young. I can remember when some of the craziest things I did, just because I was young. And I never thought about dying, and smart I wasn't. Whoever are, Newt Gingrich is stuck in Italy. Just to
right,
throw in
where
a
his
little.
wife is ambassador to the Vatican, right?
So that's kind of, oh my God. And Rudy, where's Rudy? Hello, Rudy?
Oh,
Rudy?
that's a good point.
Well, we haven't heard from Rudy. Whatever.
Well, cigar smoker in his 80s, it's,
it's not a
he
good
travels
thing.
a lot. It's not a great demographic.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm picking up these little tidbits because I think just humanizes the story a little bit more. Joe Scarborough this morning was talking about 33,000 cases in New York this morning, as of this morning, which is more dead than in Afghanistan in like what years? You think about it and you just go, oh my God. I mean, massive amounts of dead, and we're just beginning. We are just beginning. So let's go back. I want to go back to this. I want to go back to the rescue bill, which has some problems, Matt. One is that all the money that they want to get out there, they don't know how to get it out to people, because if they didn't submit tax returns, they're not on lists. If they were, so they're not. It could be weeks or months before they see the money, and they starve.
Yeah.
That's a little scary, and you would think that they would have thought their way around how to play that game. Interesting. I had a book for an upcoming interview sent to me the other day, and they called me and they said, "Do you mind if we send it? Do you want us to send it to a different address?"
Yeah, interesting.
And stupidly, I said, "No problem. Have at it." Well, shoot. This thing lasts for 17 days. I mean, how scary is this, right? I mean, like, do you think about stuff like that?
Well, I'm probably less worried about surfaces than I should be. I haven't been worrying about packages that much, or I'm careful with doorknobs and elevator buttons and things like that. I live in an apartment building, so.
Are you going to the supermarket?
Yeah.
What's that experience for you?
I mean, mostly deliveries, but I've gone to. It's fairly quiet. For a while, they were really packed. I mean, you're mindful of how, of the crowds, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you've been out, but you do engage in this weird moral calculus of you're trying to size people up of how how menacing they look.
Yeah, no, I've been out a couple of times, and I'm not happy when I go out and I see some crazy stuff. I mean,
you've got a fair number of homeless here, and I feel badly, but I try to give them a wide berth because I assume they're pretty sick.
They're not doing anything here. The supermarkets are opening like at 7:00 in the morning for seniors, if you will. I haven't made that thing, but the store, I had to go to one store and they were doing nothing. There was no, the carts there was nobody there putting sanitation stuff out for you for the carts. There was nobody limiting who could go into the store. There was nobody limiting whatever. Now I understand that some stores here are doing that, where there's somebody standing outside and keeping people away from each other and letting only a few people into the shop at one time or another, kind of thing. But of course, we'll talk about Florida in a minute, which is a joke. But there, I wanted to get back to, just briefly, and forgive me, I know I'm jumping around, but I wanted to get back to that. One of the things in the bill that I thought was so interesting, Matt, that they spent a lot of time on this too, maybe rightfully so, that Trump and his family can't use funds to save his properties. I love that. That was Nancy. That was
right.
And on the heels of that, what did we find out? People were selling stock. We didn't talk about that last week, did we? I don't think so.
I don't think we did. Yeah. I mean, it's
legislation needs to be passed that these people, if they're running, that they can't have investments. They have to get rid of their investments. Period. No, they just got to go. That's my feeling on it. And if you're willing to do that, you're worthy of being in Congress. And if you're not, you're not. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, generally it's blind trusts, or you can have them all, move into index funds or whatever.
Right. So I have a thing. Tell us what the Defense Production Act is, Matthew, and tell us why Trump has not enacted it.
Well, Hallie, on This Week in Legislation, the Defense Production Act gives the president authority to essentially order a business to start, making something. It's designed for wartime, to convert factories to wartime production. Generally, its power comes from being a threat. That is, you don't have to use it to get companies to comply. And that's Trump's argument right now. I don't have to invoke that act because I've got so many great American companies ready and willing to start, increasing production of things like ventilators that are needed for the sick from coronavirus. But the problem is that, even though some companies have stepped up, production's going to take a while. It's hard to set it up. These aren't like, it's not like building bullets or armament shells that are fairly easy. These are fairly complicated things. It's a tough production line to set up. So he probably should be invoking it. Even if he was, I think we'd have some pretty serious delays here.
But why wouldn't he? I guess
I don't understand why he wouldn't, but I assume it's just sort of the free market people around him, like, Larry Kudlow and others, Mark Meadows, who are saying, no, we can't do that. But I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, it's the kind of, wartime president stuff I would think he'd like, but.
Right? It makes no sense. That's it. I mean,
maybe he's worried it's a slippery slope to having to put sick people in, at the Doral and his other hotels,
Well, they're going to ask him. De Blasio is going to ask him because he's got a couple. Yeah, that's coming.
Well, totally. Yeah. But instead of being like, Downton Abbey opening their, their rooms to World War I, shell-shocked troops, that'll never happen.
What'll never happen?
I mean, Trump will never open up his hotels to the sick.
Oh my God. I can't believe you're saying that. Right? Right there, that tells you who he is. I mean, that's
right.
Yeah, because one of the things I have in my list.
I mean, let's say he opened it to hospital workers. He just said, like, look, you guys shouldn't have to commute back and forth. So my hotel is yours. Stay here as long as you need. I mean, that's what's happening in Columbia and New York City. They're going to open dorms for hospital workers so they don't have to commute back to Queens every night.
This is what I'm saying to you. He is such a horrid human being. He really, really is such a hard human being. God, don't you just miss statesmen? Yeah, there it is. You were listening to the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show. The Hallie Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern at HallieCasserJayne.com and is available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and on all your favorite apps. You can find the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show on your Alexa device, too. Just say, the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show. Oh, and come play with me on Twitter at the Hallie CJ Show. The reason I brought up the... See, there goes the cough again.
How long do you have this cough, Hallie?
I'll tell you what it is. Sidebar. We haven't had an ounce of rain here in like 8 weeks. I mean, not so much as a sprinkle. Everything, it's like living in the desert. You would love it because it's absolutely gorgeous. There's no humidity. The temperature is absolutely perfect. There's a lovely breeze all day long. Everything is yellow because everything is in bloom and it's all over everything. And everybody in Florida, the bottle brush, which are these beautiful red little things that come off this one kind of tree, everybody is coughing and whatever, which is why everybody thinks they all have coronavirus down here because it isn't raining at all. I mean, the lawns are turning brown. That's how long it's been since it's rained. So that's what the cough is about.
Gotcha.
And I inherited a cat, and I am allergic.
Well, that'll do it.
And I am allergic to cats.
Okay. Well, if you get a fever,
I promise you, I would
and
be
you're coughing.
Well, if there's no place to go because there's no testing. There's no testing. There's no testing.
Well,
there's no testing.
If it gets bad, why don't you?
Yeah, no.
Go see someone.
Yeah, no. Don't I sound better than last week though? I I think I sound better than last week. Maybe I had it.
I mean, they're supposed to start testing at the villages. So,
I live very far away from the villages. Or maybe.
I know.
Yes.
They're doing golf cart testing.
Oh, God, it's so crazy. We're living in such crazy time. So I brought that whole thing up with the defense thing for a reason. Nurses at this point are having to wear garbage bags. That's their line of defense.
Right.
And right there, right? In 5 minutes, you could be making uniforms that are, protective gear for these people, our frontliners. And I just don't understand why that isn't happening on a grand scale. And it would put it's repositioning, and that was why I brought it up. The lack of creativity in this administration is extraordinary. There's no creativity. I mean, if you think, you say, okay, we need to do this. Now, how can we do this? What plant would whatever? Can these be made at home? Can we have people sewing in the house? There are a lot of women who are out of work. We will pay them. They did it in World War II, right? They put women to work. They didn't all have to go to offices. Some of them had sewing, made socks. I don't understand the lack of creativity in this administration. And it would put people back to work. Figure out jobs that people can do at home and the government can pay them for those jobs. That's an issue here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't see any of that going. I see no discussion on that kind of thing. Now, I want to get back to the economy and in those terms, because we're talking about there could be creative ways to put people back to work so they're making money. Wouldn't that be lovely? And we don't have to kill people, so we can feed everybody. Even Lynn Cheney, by the way, took umbrage with that killing the seniors, letting seniors die. Although that's what's going to happen, because they're going to have to make a choice since there are no ventilators. Who's going to live, who's going to die? That's going to happen. Shades of Soylent Green. I keep going back to that. Why am I so hysterical? But there's also this, Matt. There are a couple of governors who are involved now. Let's because they're the ones who are basically running the show, right? Trump is pretty much given over to the governors. They're to run the show.
Yeah,
if you will.
Governors are kind of on their own. Yeah.
Okay. So we now have this ridiculous surge going on in Louisiana. And it looks like John Bel Edward is doing a bang-up job of getting control of it as fast as he can. I mean, he's out on the airwaves, with warning.
Right.
I'm very impressed by him. But then we have California and Garcetti going, shut the damn state down, period, end of conversation. And if you don't listen to the edicts, we will arrest you on the spot. What do you think of his very proactive stance on all of this? He doesn't have the most cases, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, for everybody's feeling their way through it. I guess whatever works. I don't know if that necessarily gets you a better result than just,
Well, I'm going to give you an example.
People.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an example. That's why I brought it up. Tennessee, right? Governor Bill Lee, nothing. In fact, insisting people go to work. You aware of this dude?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
667 cases. Right next door, Andy Beshear, Kentucky, full bore, only 163 cases. There is proof that social distancing works.
Yeah, I mean, I think the science is pretty clear on this. And, places that are low now may not be low in the future. And so you got to get out in front of it. But it is interesting that this is affecting it is affecting some places more than others. And, for a lot of the country, this isn't, it's not affecting them the way it is in New York or elsewhere yet. Yeah,
but I'll give you a for instance, because this was said to me yesterday. I thought this was true. North Dakota, for instance, okay, or South Dakota, or somebody in, one of these smaller, who goes there? So there's not a lot of planes flying in and flying out with people who've been exposed because, those kind of people, where are they going? Plus, per capita, what are the numbers? In other words, if you have a state that has, 20,000 people in it, how many of those 20,000 people were you breathing into your mic? Stop.
Sorry. You're getting me too excited. Okay.
But, there's that. And there's also, it seems to be rolling. So it starts here, then it goes there, the different hot spots. So I don't think you can take a blanket, oh my God, it's not hitting other places. We don't know whether it's hitting. First of all, there's no testing in a lot of those places, Matt. So how would you know?
No, I agree. I agree.
So the argument is kind of a stupid.
But we know from other countries too that the distribution is not even across the country. I mean, Sicily is not seeing the same intensity that Lombardy is seeing. Right.
No, I get that. I surely get that. But if you just think it through, it seems to me that if you just shut down the country altogether now, go home, sit and be still for this amount of time, and let's see where we are after that.
Well, that's what India's trying, yeah.
And
they're basically 1.3 billion people under house arrest, but
I don't know. It's not house arrest. Don't call it house arrest. It's for their own good.
Right. Okay. But 1.3, yeah, I agree. But that's basically what Modi is trying in India. We'll see if it works. Right.
And the thing is, it's important to find out how it works, because if Fauci is correct, and this is coming back in waves, you're still breathing. Am I still upsetting you?
I'm sorry. Yes, you're getting me agitated.
I'm sorry, darling. But it's like we're all petri. We're all test cases. Each state is its own test case. Okay, so let's get to my Michigan state. I, who have been saying how wonderfully middle of the road Ron DeSantis has governed, is doing bupkis.
Yeah, I think he is.
I mean, to the point of it doesn't even make sense. What? All right, I read the news from a different perspective when it comes to Florida because I live here and I'm a senior. And oh my God, how does it look to the outside world? How does it look to you?
Well, I think everybody's focused on themselves, to be honest. So, if you're living in Washington or New York, you're not spending a huge amount of time thinking about Florida's policies. But if you do think about them, you got to wonder why a state with so many senior citizens and such a transient population and, crowds is behaving this way. At least places like, Disney World and others have kind of stepped up in the absence of the governor taking action.
It is so utterly bizarre that it's incomprehensible. It's totally incomprehensible.
Yeah, and I'm sure the mayors are in a different place than the governor, right?
First of all, it's very hard to get news because, locally, what do we have? We don't really have any, if you get out of Tampa and Miami, and maybe up in Tallahassee, there are very few papers here. So, the way that you get news here is a little bit odd. It's very tough. I can only say this. There is nobody who I talk to, even Republicans, who aren't a little perplexed by the fact that every other state has taken such massive, made hard choices and shut the states down. And this one's not, with the most senior population, is not being shut down. And that's got people totally freaked out here. Everybody. Scratching their heads with, what? There is a shortage of toilet paper and water here. Now, water comes out of the tap for sure, but I mean in terms of bottled water. And during a hurricane, they do more for you on that score than they are doing now. In a hurricane, the state comes in, they get the toilet paper, they get the water, and they make it available in every Publix and every this, that, and the other thing. And they're doing none of that here. And there literally is not an ounce of toilet paper to be found in the state. That's no joke.
Yeah, not good.
Okay. So he literally is doing nothing. So I get it in my crazy little brain, Matt, that you know what he's doing? I think that Trump has said use Florida as a test case. I think that the government's playing games with certain states and trying different ideas and seeing what the hell is going on. And with the wackadoodle...
I'm not sure he can think that far ahead.
2 weeks before this all escalated, the report came through that DeSantis and Trump had a big falling out. And now they're on the phone every minute. And DeSantis, who had been right down the center there and had always, during the hurricane thing that happened, he was fine, even though it didn't hit. He did everything. This hands-off thing sounds like an edict to me because it doesn't go along with the way that he's been governing prior to this. I just thought I'd throw that at you.
Okay, could be.
It's been a while since I got a could be. What's on your radar? Is there anything that's upset you more than anything else in the whole story of all of this? Has there been one thing or something that you just kind of, scratch your head at, just as somebody who's covered politics from a political point of view, that makes your head go, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Trump's total lack of, ability to rise to the occasion. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but it's still astounding. Like when he just gets up there and says, "Oh, I think these drugs are going to work. I just think they're going to work." And he implies there's a cure around the corner when there isn't. I'm still kind of amazed by every one of those Trump moments. I'm amazed by things that there's still a lot of federal ventilators in some closet somewhere that are not being distributed, that they're holding on to. There's a lot to amaze you during a time like this. I guess the thing that really worries me is like, let's hope this is the big one. Like the part of me fears this is just a dress rehearsal for the big one.
Meaning there's going to be another virus of sorts that's far more devastating?
Yeah, I got to say that, like, we'll get through this, but there's part of me that thinks, like, when something like this happens, the imagination starts to wander, and you think about the possibility of something much worse coming. But I'm a little macabre, I'm a little bit of a macabre.
No, and
guy,
that's
so.
funny. No, because I was thinking to myself, this from my great friend Matthew Cooper, who always is so my opposite. I'm the emotional one in this team, and you're the intellectual, hard ass, newsman. I'm not going to let my emotions, color what I think. This is scary. You just scared.
No, it's not really based on anything. It's just,
no, but you're giving us something that we rarely get from Matt Cooper, and you're telling me this is what I'm thinking as I watch all of this, and this is the emotional Matt.
Yeah, I just keep thinking, let's hope this is a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah, no, it's damn scary. There's no question.
And that
we're
not, we're not 10, 15 years from now dealing with something even more virulent.
Well, yeah,
I mean, but that we can't control, although it'd be nice if they did not, mix bats and pangolins in these wet markets over in China. That would be helpful.
I agree that would be helpful, but it makes me question as to how do we really know that was the source? How do we know that was the source?
No, we don't know.
Is that a United States talking point? Did it come out of a lab? Is it a test case? I mean, I'm a writer of fiction, so me, I could go down major roads on all of this. The mind reels with possibilities on it. Let's turn to election 2020 because it does become a part of this story. I do want to start with the president's so-called pressers every day, around peak hour, with him getting up there and just saying absolute lie after lie after lie, or stupid things like try this for a cure, and then people die from what he's telling them to die for a cure for. By the way, hydrochloroquine, which is a drug I've been on when I go to Africa, and had to switch because it got me so sick to a different anti-malarial drug, is a very dangerous drug. In big little letters it says, do not take this longer than. That's because they know how it is. Should the press be covering him? Now, certainly the part, with the scientists and the doctor scientists, I put slash, they're the same. But at what point isn't this a campaign rally for Trump? How do you feel about that?
I don't think they should take these press conferences live. unfiltered. I mean, there's no reason to do that. It's filled with lies, and the job of reporters to kind of sort out what's true. It's not just to be an open mic. And so I would cover them, but then when you write your story or do a broadcast piece, you sort through what's true or not, and you present it in a way that's reported instead of just turning on the microphone and letting him riff for hours. Because I do think that's dangerous.
Yeah, I so agree. And it's interesting, his poll numbers are up. Okay, now that's not unusual because in crises, every president's poll numbers go up and then things happen at the other end that sometimes bring them down or and usually bring them down lower than they were. I mean, that's statistically from what I was reading, what happens. But his poll numbers are up. But part of the reason his poll numbers are up, Matt, is because there's nobody else talking except for him. Biden can't get a word in edgewise. The Democratic National Committee and all of them have just been a nightmare. They haven't done anything to help Biden get his voice out there. Bernie grabbed the mic yesterday, I thought very smartly, on his, I'm going to shut these dudes down who said that they wanted to stop the bill from going through because the unemployed were going to get more money than they make when they were employed for a few months. But it would only bring them to the $15 an hour, I think, that whatever. But and anyway, that's been corrected. That may not have been true. That may have just been hype. But Bernie grabbed the mic for 5 minutes. Now, I know that Biden has been trying to get online and do, Facebook Live things and things like that. It's just not breaking through.
No.
So it
was breaking through.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him in a second. But what I was thinking was that this is why the Dems, they always lose the messaging. You and I say that every week. If there's a messaging war, they're going to lose it. They ought to set up a camera in a room that looks like the press room in the White House, and they ought to start doing their own thing. Why not? These are unusual times. Even if they put it in Biden's house, in his basement.
I think that's what they're doing.
Well, no, they're not. He ought to start doing it so that he makes it so effective that MSNBC and CNN and everyone has to pick them up. They're not picking them up. They're only running on internet. And internet is a problem, by the way, anyway. I don't know if you're aware of this, but that's about to be a real big problem because they're on overload. And they're already scoring back a lot of the streaming stuff because it's so on overload and it's only going to get better, worse. Yeah. So, but I'm saying this is a real big problem, for the campaign. I know they wanted in the legislation and they didn't make it, to have, vote by mail. What are your thoughts about that? That they didn't get it in?
Well, that's too bad. I mean, they should. It's clearly, good for public health. It's good for democracy. I mean, I'm all for it. Yeah,
and not just because of the pandemic. I think it should be an option, period. It should be the...
Yeah, sure. Right. Absolutely.
So, everybody gets their own code, if you will, when you register to vote so that you can do what you have to do. That would certainly be fine. But I go back to the fact that Trump has shut the Dems out, shut the election out, except for himself. And he's getting to have... every day a rally at 6:00, a rally of lies. So I think I wanted to talk about that. Now, Bernie says he's staying in. He's going to stay in. Yes?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Till when did he say he was staying in? He did say, didn't he limit it to when he?
I didn't hear that part.
It was to one of the primaries. I forget which primary it was. He said at least would stay.
Yeah. Well, he's not winning any primaries, and he's kind of shut down at the moment. I mean, he can keep raising money, and he can do speeches, but I think that campaign's effectively over. The question is, is he going to be cooperative with the party and with Biden, at the time of the nominating convention, if there is a convention?
I know there'll be a convention. Here's the reason I asked you that, because now Biden says... They were scheduled to have another debate, and Biden says he doesn't really see a reason to debate. Now, that kind of got lost in the radar of all the crazy, but he did say it.
Yeah. Well, when you're sitting on a big lead like that, you don't want to...
yeah, I agree with that.
You don't want to risk blowing it.
But what do you think? Do you think he can get away with doing that?
I think it's probably a mistake for him not to do it. I think you got to... You got to treat the process seriously. You can't be haughty about it. I'd say at least do one more.
Okay. Yeah. So do you think that the Biden campaign is handling this weird situation as well as it should be?
No, I think he should. I think he should be out there more, and he should probably be, yeah. I mean, they need to do it in a way that will actually get some pickup, and I don't know whatever they're doing, it is not getting any pickup. So
good, because that was what my thought was, but I wanted to run that by you because I come from a different place than you do. But there is he's getting virtually no attention, and I think that's just nuts.
No, I mean, you have to be like a shadow prime minister.
Exactly. I can understand where they don't want to get him out, in public. But you don't. It's set up a studio, make it look very presidential. Yeah. Let him do his thing every day, a la my favorite subject of the moment, Mr. Cuomo, who now people are saying may get reeled into the election and maybe become the candidate. What are your thoughts there, buddy?
Well, I think all the problems that let him be vulnerable to challenge in New York from the left, I think would still dog him if he somehow took an interest in the Democratic nomination. I don't think that's going to happen, but he is having a moment. His press conferences have been done with a great deal of sobriety and clarity and knowledge. He's sort of at once very realistic and reassuring. I mean, he's not putting on a happy face, but he knows what he's talking about.
And he speaks in complete sentences. I just want to throw that in.
Speaks in complete sentences. And, I think, he's the tough guy. He's the tough guy we need at the moment. So it's a very different experience than watching these Trump press conferences.
Oh yeah, one is information.
Yeah. He gets a little but he also gets a little
emotional.
Emotional. He talks about how nice it is to have his daughter at home and
his mom and the whole story with his mother. Yeah, I love the thing with his mom,
his late father, and he's sort of it's a whole different.
And have you seen him with Chris on Chris's show?
I have seen him with Chris, which is amusing, and I actually think Chris is having a moment too.
Here's the deal. The objection to Cuomo in the past has been that he's a little rough around the edges. He's a tough boy. But I always thought that was amusing in terms of Trump, because who else? Trump also is rough around the edges and not lovable. As far I
but a different thing. Yeah. I mean, Trump was just, free-floating irritability directed at anyone, including his own staff or anyone who seemed to insult him. Cuomo was in the course of trying to accomplish his goals, mostly dealing with the legislature, but often with the, New York City mayor, he would be, total prick. But at least was in service of something, it wasn't just like, Mattis is a loser. Of course he's leaving. He's a loser. It wasn't as capricious and crazy town as Trump. But, it was that and his centrism that really irked the New York left and got we challenge last time. And,
I don't know. I think he's shown skills I didn't have any clue that he had, Matt. And it's flabbergasting how brilliant he has been. Really, he's the voice. I mean, compare.
Yeah, I mean, I think had Jerry Brown still been in office, he would have been very impressive too. And Newsom's doing pretty well.
I can never take Newsom seriously. Because of his ex-wife. And there's this one picture of the two of them going back. He's always been a pretty boy and whatever. He also has a very bad speaking voice, terrible speaking voice, which takes away a little bit of his authority. But I just don't think he doesn't have it all. He has some, but he doesn't have it all. That's just my take on him. I mean, Cuomo is just, geez. I mean, he's really, this is what you need in a president. And maybe that's it. We've been getting these kind of liberal kind of California type presidents. Obama didn't come from California, but he comes from that school, that male, laid back kind of
right.
I never quite know how to put that, and I'm saying to myself, boy, we really need a strong man, a strong woman president. We really need something of a different nature to put the presidency back where it needs to belong. And that does include being tough. I'm sorry. It really does. I mean, an educated tough, a brilliant tough, not a frivolous Trump.
Right. No, I know what you're saying.
So I'm impressed with him, and I'd be curious to see how he comes out of this whole thing at the end. And it's going to dictate what's going to happen with all of, even with Cuomo. We don't know where this thing is going, and that's where we're going to leave it this week. We don't know what's next. We don't know how bad it's going to get in Florida. We don't know how bad it's going to get in California. We don't know how bad it's going to continue to New York. They're saying that right now that the cases aren't going up, but we don't know. That's a couple of days. We don't know how bad. On the other hand, we don't know. Maybe this will all go away when it starts to rain in Florida again. I mean, it's like,
well, we will keep watching.
We will keep watching. My friend, stay safe.
All right. Stay safe, you. Check out that cough.
Yes, Daddy. I will. Love you. Speak to you
All
soon.
Right, take care. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hallie Casser-Jayne Show, a production of Resec LLC. The Hallie Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, and is available at HallieCasserJayne.com and on all your favorite apps. Be sure to visit us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at The Hallie CJ Show. Until next time, this is Hallie Casser-Jayne.